There are some big changes coming to Medicare Part D plans in 2025 due to the Inflation Reduction Act, and not knowing these changes could cost you big time in 2025. Rob here with Agape Insurance, and in today's video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of some of those major changes coming in 2025, as well as 3 mistakes you need to avoid this open enrollment. So let's look at change number 1. Change number 1 is the donut hole, also known as the coverage gap, will be eliminated. If you take a look here at the image on the screen, there are currently 4 phases when it comes to being on a Medicare Part D plan. Phase number 1 is your annual deductible. Phase number 2 is your initial coverage phase. Phase number 3 is your coverage gap, or donut hole. And then phase number 4 is your catastrophic phase. And you can see the different amounts that you would pay as the Medicare beneficiary, the carrier pays, as well as the plan. Well, in 2025, that will be trimmed down to 3 phases: the annual deductible, the initial coverage phase, and then the catastrophic phase. This is going to be huge for those that had so many issues paying those higher costs while they were in the donut hole. So let's look at change number 2. And that is, once again, if you look at the image here on the screen, the max out of pocket is only going to be $2,000 for Medicare beneficiaries on a Medicare Part D plan in 2025. This year's max out of pocket is $8,000. Now, one thing I need to make a note of is these max out of pocket costs are for drugs that are in the plan's formulary. So you always want to make sure that you check the drugs to make sure they're in that specific plan's formulary. This is going to be big, huge for many Medicare beneficiaries that are on multiple high-tier drugs, and that having that high max out of pocket just makes it very difficult for them to afford those drugs without having to, you could say, rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. We get calls all the time of people that are on these insulins like Wegovy and Mounjaro and Ozempic and other high-priced drugs like Jardiance or Januvia or Eliquis, and there's many, many more. But the bottom line is, for 2025, you now are going to have a cap on that, which is going to make it a lot easier for people's budgets coming in 2025. The bad news is, though, is with that cap coming and the donut hole being eliminated, that means these plans are going to recuperate those costs somewhere. So this is why it's more important than ever for you to review your drug plan, I believe, with a seasoned Medicare advisor, because it doesn't cost you any more to use one, to make sure that you get this right for 2025, because not getting this right could cost you more than you really need to pay. All right, change number 3 is, due to the Inflation Reduction Act, they are implementing a Medicare prescription payment plan to help spread the cost of high-priced medications over a year's time. So, for instance, if January the 1st rolls along, you still have that deductible, which is going up from $545 in 2024 to $590. You still have that deductible for those medications that trigger that deductible. And so you still have to pay that. However, if you are on a drug like an insulin of some sort, like a Wegovy or Mounjaro, and it's in the plan's formulary, instead of having to pay that high price with that deductible, you can spread that out over the year to make it easier for your budget. So this is going to be really big and beneficial for those Medicare beneficiaries that are on some high-priced drugs, and that even though the max out of pocket is going to help them, that being capped at $2,000, even though the donut hole is going to be eliminated, they still need some help spreading that cost out over time instead of having to pay one big lump sum. And then number 4 is just simply this, is that Part D plans and manufacturers will take on a greater share of the cost in 2025. Once again, this is great for you, the Medicare beneficiary, but you better believe there's going to be some changes in premiums and deductibles. There's probably going to be formulary changes, meaning drugs that were covered in the past may not be covered or not covered as well, or they could change the tier of that drug, which could trigger the deductible. So this is why you want to make sure that you review your drug plan. As a matter of fact, all of you should be getting your annual notice of change letter, or ANOC for short. And that just means that that letter is going to highlight all the changes coming for 2025. I cannot stress this enough that you want to open that letter up from your specific carrier and review all those changes, and then get on the phone with the Medicare advisor to help navigate all the different changes so you can understand the changes that are coming up, because that could mean that you have to change your plan for 2025. Now, before we get into the 3 mistakes that I believe all of you should avoid for this open enrollment, it's just right around the corner, would you take a moment to hit the like button, hit subscribe, give us some feedback below. If there's some questions I didn't answer for you during this video, put them below, and I promise you that either myself or my team will answer those for you. This just helps us help more Medicare beneficiaries like yourself. All right, real quickly, let's get back to 3 mistakes that I believe every Medicare beneficiary should avoid. Mistake number 1 is trying to do it on your own. Now, I'll put the link here on the screen. All of you are more than welcome to go to www.medicare.gov, create an account if you don't have one already, and you can type in all of your drugs. You can put in your zip code. You can shop and review all the Part D plans yourself. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I never recommend that, because it doesn't cost you anything extra to use a seasoned Medicare advisor like myself to help you navigate this and make sure that you understand the drug plan that you're going to be signing up for 2025. I can't stress this enough. If there's ever a year that you need to focus on that, this year is the year to make sure that in 2025 you're set up correctly. Mistake number 2 is not reviewing your annual notice of change letter. And you should be getting that here in the next few weeks. Take a look at that, because it's going to expand, or expound, I should say, on the different changes. It's going to tell you the deductible change. It's going to tell you co-insurance change. It's going to give you if there's formulary changes or tier changes. So these are things that you need to take a look at, especially if you're going to try to do it on your own. You definitely want to make sure that you review your annual notice of change letter. And then the final mistake is not using a broker advisor like us here at Agape versus using a captive agent. While there's nothing wrong with using a captive agent, they only represent one company, one carrier, and that may not be the best thing for you. You want to work with someone who either works with all the carriers in your local area, at least most of them, where they can put in your zip code, and when that in a specific tool, and when they put it in that tool, it brings up all the different carriers in that area. So that way you can truly do an apples to apples and oranges to oranges comparison. If you do not have one to help you, you're more than welcome to call the number on the screen, or simply go to our website and you can reach out to us, and either myself or one of my seasoned Medicare advisors will reach out to you, and we will make sure to go through all of this with you so you fully understand the plan and all of its benefits and changes for 2025. Once again, this does not cost you anything extra to use someone like us. Well, I pray that you got value out of the video today. And if you want to take a deeper dive into Medicare, go take a look at my 3-part Medicare series here.